Hey there, it's Michael from Xano. There's a question that recently came up in our community. This particular user was working with Bravo Studio and was trying to input both date and time. However, Bravo Studio has separate inputs for time and also date. What this particular user found is that when inputting time, it's actually not just the time, it's actually a date time string. That date being whatever the day of today is, with the time attached to it. Now the date comes in a date time string, and that looks great. However, for this user's use case, they wanted that particular time to be with the date that they were choosing. So how do we combine the time that's in a date time string with a date that's in its own date time string? So in Xano, we can use the function stack to manipulate data any way we want to get it exactly as we want it. So if we jump over to Xano here, you can see I have a couple inputs set up, date and time. So we'll take this one step at a time. So for example, if I go to run and debug here, I already put in some inputs. So let's say the date I want is September 25th of 2022. And the time today happens to be the 7th. So let's say I want 15:30, which would be 3:30 p.m. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to actually extract the time from that date time string with our time input. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to do format timestamp, and you can use whatever format of time that suits you. This particular user happened to be doing this one, which is 24-hour time with leading zeros and then minutes. Okay, of course, if you go to our documentation, and maybe I'll pull that up real quick. So right here in our documentation, you can see if you go to date and times, there's all this information. And if you want to see your options for formatting date and time, we have the full list available right here, and you can see all the different characters to manipulate time however you may want to. Okay, so just back to Xano, I'm going to do that format, and let's go ahead. Let's just simply return what that variable looks like. So we're going to take this timestamp right here, and when I run it, we're going to get just 15:30. Okay, so just the time. We're isolating that time. Okay, the next thing to do is we're going to do the exact same thing with date. Now, this particular user wanted the format with day, month, year. So once again, those characters are from this sheet over here, which is linked in our documentation. So let's go ahead and return the extracted date and see what that looks like. Okay, so once again, this input here, we're just looking for September 25th, 2022 in that format, day, month, year. Okay, great. So we got 25th September 2022. Okay, moving on. We actually want to combine both that date and time now that we have them isolated. So what I can do here is I can simply use a concatenation filter starting with the date and the time. I have a space separator in here. So let me go ahead and now show you what human timestamp looks like. So if we go ahead and run this, we can see, well, we get 25th September 2022, 15:30. Okay, great. Last step is now to transform that or parse it into an actual Unix timestamp to be stored in our Xano database. So finally, we can take that timestamp and we can use this parse timestamp filter. And parse timestamp, you can also see the full list just right above where I clicked from here, from php.net as well. Characters are very similar. There's some that are a little bit different, so please make sure just to double check and reference the parse list if you're both parsing and formatting. But back to Xano, you can see we had that date, month, year, we had a space, then we had that 15:30. So I can go ahead and parse that. And so if I now return that and hit save, well, we should see a timestamp, but do we have the right timestamp? What I can do here is I can just apply a quick format timestamp, and I'm just going to use this R, which is just a shortcut, as you'll see in that list that I referenced. So if I run this, you can see, well, looks like that is the exact date and time that we actually wanted. So with all that, we can now go ahead and add it to a field in our database. I have this timestamp field here called parse timestamp, and go ahead and hit save. So if I were to actually just go ahead and run this, I know I'm returning just that parse timestamp. But if we jump to our database, we can now see we get that time. My account happens to be in Pacific time zone, so that's why you're seeing this displayed with this -7. But remember, we stored that with the UTC. So there you go. Hopefully that's helpful and clears things up. I've seen Bravo Studio throw time and date inputs a little bit differently, but just know with Xano's function stack, you can manipulate data in any way you want it to get it exactly how you want it, because it is a Turing complete function stack.